The truth of the matter is that those primarily responsible in a position where they could have made the difference were either promoted or given the Medal of Freedom, for God's sakes. Alex talked about the connection between 9/11 and Iraq. That's my forte, because as a career military officer, as a combat veteran, I am really incensed that our government is ordering our sons and daughters around the world to kill Arabs for the oil companies. And 9/11 was their excuse. 9/11 was their new Pearl Harbor. People tell me, oh, we had to do something, 9/11. And I say, yeah, but why Iraq? Iraq had nothing to do with 9/11. And Saddam Hussein and Osama bin Laden were bitter enemies. If we really thought those 19 hijackers were responsible, why didn't we attack Saudi Arabia? The truth about the Iraq War is that it has nothing to do with weapons of mass destruction or democracy or freedom or getting rid of Saddam Hussein or protecting America or our allies. It has to do with money, it has to do with oil, and it has to do with raw imperial power. I'm the next congressman from Florida's 15th district. And when I get there, I am taking the 9/11 truth movement mainstream. It's time the 9/11 truth movement moved out of rented hotels and into the halls of Congress. I may not be there yet, but I have already lined up co-sponsors for legislation to initiate a truly independent investigation of 9/11. And also articles of impeachment for Bush, Cheney, Rumsfeld, Rice. As a pilot who flew 101 combat missions in Vietnam, I swore an oath to protect and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, and that includes a renegade president. It's time the whole oil mafia were removed from office and indicted for treason. God bless America, and God grant us regime change in Washington, D.C. Thank you.
I'm not going to be able to introduce this guy properly, so later I hope he tells us a little bit more about himself, but he's edited many books, published books on government criminal activity, on the JFK assassination. Professor James Fetzer founded 9/11 Scholars for Truth, a group with over 300 faculty, students, and scholars who question the official scientific account of the September 11, 2001 attacks. The group was founded December 15, 2005, and has sent shockwaves around the world. It's been a magnet, a think tank, to bring the best and brightest minds in many different fields together to expose 9/11 and other government-sponsored terror events. Professor Jim Fetzer.
We've not only been able to falsify, refute the alleged physics of the situation, but essentially everything the government has told us about 9/11 is false. Let me offer an illustration. I've always been very suspicious of this scenario in which a ragtag group of terrorists with box cutters could overtake 4 commercial airliners. In my opinion, any group of American passengers confronted with a couple of terrorists with box cutters would have beaten them to death with their luggage. So let me offer you my top 10 reasons for thinking they are fake. And where's Paul Schaefer when you need him? Number 10 top reason for thinking the hijackers are fake. Their names do not appear on any passenger manifest. That's not easy to arrange, my friends. If you know of any other case, I'd be interested in hearing it. Number 9. None of them were subject to any autopsy. Would have been interesting, powerful evidence if, in fact, we had some bodies here to offer some proof, but there is none. Number 8, top 10 reason for thinking these hijackers are fake. 5 to 7 at least have turned up alive and well and living in the Middle East. They've even been interviewed by the BBC and The Guardian in the UK. Now, I dare say that if they were actually killed in the impact of these airliners, then it's even more difficult to imagine how they could have arranged those interviews. Reason number 7. The FBI, nevertheless, has not revised its list. This is quite surprising. They have to be aware. David Ray Griffin's second book on 9/11, the 9/11 Commission Report, Omissions and Distortions, makes this point as his number 1 item. They have to know, yet they have not revised their list. As an aside, I expect we're going to see some backtracking and equivocating now, and they're going to be saying, well, maybe they aren't really sure about all the names on their list. But listen to this. Reason number 6. A special agent of the FBI by the name of Flagg, F-L-A-G-G, has explained that the FBI knew almost immediately the names of all 19 hijackers because they discovered a piece of luggage left by Mohammed Atta when he had driven up to Portland and then turned around and rushed down to Logan just in time to participate in the hijacking of a plane from that airport. According to Flagg, this piece of luggage Atta left behind included not only a terrorist manual, but a very convenient list of the 19 hijackers. And I say, well, that's really quite stunning, considering 5, 6, or 7 of these guys have turned up alive and well. How can you explain that? Reason number 5, and that, incidentally, gives new meaning to the word false flag. My top 10, number 5 reason for thinking these hijackers were fake. They could not have flown the planes. Neil Sagadavan, among others, who's a pilot and aeronautical engineer, has studied their training background, and it's simply preposterous to presume these guys who could barely get a Cessna off the ground could have piloted a commercial airliner and brought it to its target. It's preposterous. Top 10 reason number 4. Those cell phone calls that we've heard so much about could not have been made at the altitudes and speeds these planes were flying. A.K. Dudney, a professor of computer science from Western Ontario, has taken cell phones of different makes and models on different flights around the country and discovered at altitudes above 2,000 feet and speeds above 230 miles an hour that cell phone connections become fewer and farther between. They would have been impossible. And that, of course, would include the one you've all heard about from alleged passenger Mark Bingham, where he calls his mother and says, "Mom, this is Mark Bingham."
You believe me, don't you?